南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛. The sutra opening kata, the Dhamma infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million kalpas. Now we are able to hear, to study, and to practice. May we fully understand and realize the Tathagata's true teachings. So we read the sutra. Okay. The Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when practicing deeply the Prajna Paramita, perceives that all five skandhas are empty and is saved from all suffering and distress. O Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. That which is form is emptiness. That which is emptiness, form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear nor disappear, are not tainted nor pure, do not increase or decrease. There is emptiness, no form, no feelings, no perceptions, no impulses, no consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and no forth until no realm of mind consciousness, no ignorance and also no extinction of it, and so forth until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them. No suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment. With nothing to attain, the Bodhisattva depends on Prajna Paramita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Far apart from every perverted view, the Bodhisattva dwells in Nirvana. In the three worlds, all Buddhas depend on Prajna Paramita and attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Therefore, know the Prajna Paramita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great bright mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering and is true, not false. So proclaim the Prajna Paramita mantra. Proclaim the mantra that says, Gade Gade Paragade Parasam Gade Bodhe Swaha. Today is the full moon day of April in the Chinese calendar. And today is really the first day of our summer rain retreat, which should last for 3 months. That's a Chinese Mahayana tradition. And today was a very auspicious day. You know what happens?
You went into PI?
Yeah. Well, we go into PI every Thursday, but today is special. We went in the morning. We had a Vesak. We had a bathing of the Buddha inside today. And one fellow took refuge. And the other fellow renewed his 5 precepts. So we had 2 fellows. Well, one fellow took refuge and 5 precepts. The other fellow renewed his 5 precepts. So 2 fellows. It was awesome, yeah. So, and we did chanting inside the chapel. Yeah, the incense hymn, the incense anthem, and then the Namo Bensi Sija Mani Fo, and then the dedication of merits at the end. So we had 8 guys who came in. So the whole ceremony was like about, we started at around 9:30 to 10:20, because the movement time was delayed for 10 minutes. Supposed to move at 9 o'clock. They did not announce movement until 9:10, I think. So by the time the guys came, it was 9:15. So then I gave them a little talk about the refuges and what's the meaning of bathing the Buddha. So we had 8 guys. And we had a lot of food. We were allowed to bring food in. So we brought in strawberries and grapes. But Kira brought in a lot of other stuff. And but they only had 5 minutes to stuff everything in. Because 10:30 they had to go back to the range for counts. It was I said to the chaplain, I said, we should open it up for everybody. She said, well, if you open it up for everybody, we cannot have food, because people would just come for food. They not necessarily come for the bathing of the Buddha. So I said, oh, no, then I want them to really come for the bathing of have a pure intention, not like food intention, right? So it was good. It was great to have that kind of really proper celebration or chanting. And I put on the yellow and the red robes. And the guys were looking at me. I said, do I look nice? They said, yeah, Christmas tree. But he did not say it to me. He just... And I heard it. I said, I heard it. He said, yeah, but you do really look very bright and glamorous, like Christmas tree. So it was great. It was the normal guys who come for meditation. Yeah. So out of 8, 7 actually went to bathe the Buddha. You know who did not go. He is a Christian, right? But he said, I just wanted to come and observe and be a part of it. So he was actually also very touched by the whole ceremony. It was a very touching event, because you see the guy inside vowing to take the refuge and commit themselves to walk on the path, and taking the 5 precepts is really, it will hopefully change his life. Yeah. So it was I brought in all the sifus. The Xiu sifus all went in, and Tan sifu all went in. Everybody went in. All the nuns went in, because I cannot do the chanting on my own. Right? So we brought in the little gong and little mokyu. The miniature. Yeah, the miniature ones is really cute, little one. So yeah, that was a good experience for them. They've only seen the sweet part of the prison, the chapel, right? You've only seen the sweetest part of the prison, because you went in through the gate. It's really nothing, because it was in the morning. All the officer, all the staff were going to work, so people were holding out the doors for us. So we do not have to wait for the buzz and then like that, right? So we had a smooth transition from the outside world to the inside world. And then they went into the chapel, which was like really welcoming chapel, right? So it was quiet, and so they did not see much. They really did not see much. When we went in, it was past movement time. So when we came out, it was past movement time. So they did not see anybody else. So, but at least give them an idea of what we were doing inside the chapel, where we go, right? So so it's great. If you want to go into the prison and you're not a monastic, but you really need to become a monastic. If you're not a volunteer and you do want to come into a prison, within a short period of time, you want to come with us, you have to become a monastic, because we fall into the area that we can actually go in as a visitor, as long as the site staff can actually get the gate pass for them and accompany them to go in. Yeah, so that's monastics fall into this particular group of people who can actually go in as a sort of like a spiritual mentor. Yeah, so it was great. So yeah. Yeah, it's good, huh? So change your maybe change your view on how the prison is and how inmates are. They are just human beings. They are just human beings, needed to be supported and needed to be encouraged, and not really constantly remind them of their crime in the past. But at times remind them, but most times is really encourage them to really change. I think the Dharma talk that I gave today I thought it was good in a way, because I said we are prisoners anyway, whether we are inside or outside the prisons. In this mind, we are prisoner. Okay, the mental prison is actually more difficult to deal with than the physical prison. So we are not too much different from you, but at least now you've got a technique to work. All right, come back to the Heart Sutra. So you had a good quiz last week. Oh, maybe we should go back to that. Then I can. Don't flip on your note. No looking. No peeping into your notes. No notes. No notes. Okay. Okay. Start with 12 o'clock. Ignorance. Great. Then you want to go clockwise or anti-clockwise? Clockwise. Okay. Clockwise. Okay. Ignorance then. Say that again. Mental formation. And then consciousness. Then mind and body, nama rupa. And then six sense doors. You guys are supporting each other, really. Do you plan to remember six and she plans to remember six? Okay. Six sense doors. And then there's a contact. Yes. And then after contact, feelings. After the feelings, craving, clinging. Yes. After clinging, oh, you're becoming very good, Bob. You've been doing your homework. After becoming birth, and after birth, yeah. Great, good. Well done. Yeah. So have you understood these 12 links a little bit more? After remembering this, the cycles, the little every little thing in there, it starts to make a little bit more sense. Good. So we talked about this 2 weeks ago. This is very strange. Okay, so remember this. They have a lot of scholars have actually subdivided these three into 3 lifetimes, right? So which one are the present ones or the past ones? Past lifetimes. Ignorance. And the second one, you cannot see the sankhara, the volition, mental volitions, mental formations. Yeah. And then bring on this lifetime, the consciousness, and then go all the way to becoming, yeah, right? Half, and then the birth, aging, and it starts again with birth. So next lifetime. So this is what they actually meant by this cycle in 3 lifetimes. Yeah. But I remember I talked about it. I said you can actually see this in 1 lifetime, in this present lifetime. Remember that? About a 500-pound obese person. Of course, he is or she must be very ignorant, right? Don't mind about whatever ignorance that she has carried, but at least now she or he must be very ignorant in order to get to 500 pounds. Okay. And then because of that weight, being so ignorant, so definitely with this mental volition or you call it mental formation, sankhara, that means the reaction, the reactive mind. The mind is constantly reacting with these old habits. Old habits of what? Craving, aversion, more ignorance, right? So they create a new consciousness, constant new consciousness. And because of this new consciousness, you result in a new form, a namarupa, right? A new form of namarupa. And because of this new form of namarupa, and it brings whatever eyes and tongue and ears and nose and touch, it's different from the previous namarupa already. Okay, so whatever namarupa that is, then the sense doors are very different. This new namarupa brings in different messages because the sense doors are different. So with these different sense doors, the contact will become different. Right? And the contact different, that means then it's a completely different new experience of sensations, feelings, or whether it's physical or emotional. And because of these new feelings, emotional or physical, then it comes new clinging. Yeah. So it repeats the whole cycle itself. Excuse me. So this is because of this delusion and greed and aversion. So whether it's really past lives or this lifetime, it really doesn't matter. The whole length is telling us how we actually being trapped in this constant cycles. Okay. So remember last two times that we say, how are we going to come out of this? Therefore, for exits, which one is the first exit? Contact. What about the second one? Why do you think the contact will be the exit? Why do you think the contact will be the exit? Don't just blindly accept what I say. Analyze it yourself. Why would the contact be an exit? Yes. So
if there's no contact, then there's no feelings.
But it's impossible to have no contact.
Could be because of what we expose ourselves to. So depending on what we expose ourselves to, we're going to react.
But still, we will have contact. Yeah. So it's impossible to avoid the contact. I'm looking at you. It's impossible unless I'm blind. But still, even if I'm blind, that the sense door of eye doesn't work, but the eye consciousness is still there. Right? Right? Even though the sense doors doesn't work, even if I'm blind, but there is still eye consciousness. Remember. Yeah? Agree? The eye consciousness is in the middle, remember? Between the object and the door. It's right in between. So even though I'm blind, I cannot see anything, but eye consciousness is still there. That's why, remember, I talked about with the near-death experience. When people experience near-death, they can see colors. Why? Because at that time, there is no need of the sense doors. We are actually limited by the sense doors more than actually being liberated by it. You understand why? Can you guess why? Because there is a lot of limitation here with these sense doors. And because of this limitation of these sense doors, the mind thinks that this is it. This is what I see. Yeah. The perception is so limited by this sense doors. So when this sense door is gone, like in near-death experiences, this sense door is gone. So it's not being limited by this sense door. So the eye consciousness works totally liberated. So that's why you can see colors. And the deaf can hear. The mute can talk when they experience they don't actually. I haven't actually read anything about the mute can talk, but I actually read many articles about the eyes can see, the ears can hear in near-death experiences. I haven't read anything about the mute. Excuse me, sorry, that was wrong. Okay, so that's why it depends on how we react to that contact. Because when we have that contact, there comes, if we can actually cut out at that contact, that would be great. Seeing is just seeing. Seeing is merely seeing. Hearing is merely hearing. Right? You walk by a path and you say, "Oh, yes." If you start, can you say, if you see a flower, you already right away jump onto this thing we call a flower. It's a flower, right? Already. Then there's also already a discrimination, right? Discrimination not in the sense of looking up down, but we know this is different than this one. This is a different flower. This is, then you start to go deeper. This is a yellow flower. This is a tulip. Oh, this is a nice tulip, right? So the contact one is actually quite difficult. Unless you start to really bring yourself back and just seeing is seeing. Okay, seeing is seeing, and seeing is seeing. And I don't start to this discriminate. Oh, this is a woman and this is a man. Or this is white hair and this is brown hair and this is black hair. It's very difficult. So contact, yes, but it's difficult. Sensations, yes, easier because you can train yourself not to react to the sensation, not to react to the craving of the sensation, and build up the equanimity, that balance of mind, right? So the next one is the craving. Now, when we touch something, for example, when we touch something, we say, "Oh, wow, this is soft." So we already have the contact and we already have this judgment. But then we know, oh, this is soft. This is soft. We just know this is soft. That's all. And so, oh, when I don't feel that softness, then I start craving for it. Okay. So that craving, we can actually cut it out. It's like, oh, I know this is soft. I just know this is soft. Don't crave for it. Don't crave for it. It's not easy to stop that craving. But once you build up that awareness, then you become aware faster and faster. And that craving lasts shorter and shorter, shorter and shorter. That's how we can actually cut that time. Okay. And then the next step where we can cut is to cling, And it's of course is we can cut it off from all these. But the first thing, seeing is seeing or hearing is hearing, is just the contact point. It's difficult. Feeling is I think is the easiest one to work on. And if you can work on that easier one, why do we have to go on to all the 2 more steps, right? Why do we have to spend energy to go on for 2 more steps and multiply more difficulty for ourselves? Why? If we can go out, if we can take the exit earlier, why don't we take the exit earlier? But if we don't, if we were not able to take that exit, then don't forget, you still have 2 more exits to choose. Yeah? It's very optimistic. It's very, yes, Paul.
If the mind's playing tricks, catch on the next thing, you know?
Becoming?
No, if your mind is if you can't catch it on feeling,
Yeah.
in a certain situation, your mind is
Oh, yeah.
play a trick on you.
Yeah.
Maybe you can catch it on the next one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, of course you can catch it on craving, you can catch it on clinging.
And also, is contact the first point in which you can apply mindfulness?
Yes. Yes.
Because it's really the first.
Yes. Because seeing is already you're mindful. That's where you can actually rest the mindfulness on. Yeah. That's why it's the first point. But with ignorance and sankhara, there's no way that you can cut that out because it's from the past. There's no way. The habitual pattern, the habitual reaction is already deep in there. So the most important thing is we need to sever these old habits. And also at the same time, we don't make new habits. That's why in the old Mahayana saying is that we already have so much weeds. Don't plant more seeds of weeds. You are weeding already, constantly weeding, but we constantly replanting, right? Constantly throwing new seeds of weeds into that storage. So it takes us eons to really eradicate and to clean out all those weeds. So in the Mahayana teachings always say you are weeding already, but the one very important step is don't plant any more new seeds. So the mindfulness has to come in. When you start to plant new seeds, we start to react more. You say, oh, I'm planting new seeds again. Wow, I still have this whole field of weed to weed.
Just like our field.
Yeah. That's why when I walk along the field, I always look at it from this point of view. I constantly remind myself, just like the field. My mind is just like the field. So I have to constantly be aware not to throw in any more new seeds of weeds. It's like the efforts in the Eightfold Noble Path. Remember? Yeah. The unwholesome one, if they hasn't arisen, don't plant the seeds. If they have arisen, then try to actually correct them. So allow those seeds to wither, to die down. Yeah. So this is that extinction of suffering, extinction of ignorance, and so forth until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them. So extinction of ignorance. This little guy here says, is it possible? Is it all right to remain ignorant? And this little guy said, I don't know, but I refuse to find out. So why the Heart Sutra said that there is no extinction of ignorance and no extinction of aging and birth and death? So the whole thing, the whole 12 links, this is because extinction of ignorance is the meritorious result of a saint and sage. Okay, it's not a meritorious enlightenment of us as a worldly being, an unenlightened worldly being. Okay. And a saint or enlightened person can achieve this extinction of ignorance. But I will ask you a question. Do you think when the Buddha becomes a Buddha, he thinks that he is pure?
I don't think he has any judgment.
Exactly.
Only clarity.
Exactly. He doesn't, he has no judgment on I am pure and you are impure. But only us, as an unenlightened being, have this duality of pure, impure, worldly, unworldly. Okay, so Bodhisattva, Buddha, they actually don't think that there is this extinction of, there is this necessity to extinguish, I mean, to really eradicate all this ignorance or eradicate the extinction of aging and death, because for them, there is no ignorance. For them, there is no rebirth. For them, there is no death. For them, there is no birth, because they are enlightened. Because we are not enlightened. That's why we still have to go through this cycle. So there's therefore the extinction of ignorance is actually a state of mind of the enlightened, of the saints and sages. So it is not something that we need to actively do, or I need to actively try to extinguish. Not, is it extinguish? Extinguish all these ignorance so that I become an enlightened person. No, you don't. When you become aware, things start to come up. As I said, in meditation, you just become aware and it naturally extinguishes by itself. But if you don't become aware, you start to dwell into it, then you actually repeat this whole cycle again. Have you had that experience with your meditation? One crazy thought come up before you actually mature, you follow that crazy thought and become crazier and crazier, right? Really crazy. You start to churn up the whole pot, open up a whole cans of worm and everywhere. And he's like, I open up a can of worms. Let me come back here and just sit with it and just watch it. And strangely enough, when you start to sit there and very quietly and just feel it and just observe it and not reacting, that whole cans of worms, that's what? Completely gone. This last week, I taught this 5 days meditation in Toronto. And there was this really senior Buddhist practitioner. She has been teaching, like giving Dharma talk ever since she was, I think, probably in her 20s. Now she's in her 50s. And she said, I have dwelled into this scholarly, practice for so long. I really need to do some meditation. So she came, but she had so much pain, and she was fighting and fighting and fighting and changing her posture and this and that, and still so much pain. And all of a sudden, she just remembered what I said, surrender, total surrender to the pain, total to surrender to whatever you experience right now, and go back to first step if you need to. Just be with this body. It just came into her mind, this instruction, and she just went back to the first step. Second step is just to come back to here, not even paying attention to the breath, just paying attention to her own existence, the body. But pain was still there. And all of a sudden, she said, just within a couple of minutes, and she said, this whole body, starting from there, like fire, burning, just like a flame, up, it's gone, completely gone, no more pain for the rest of the course. Surrender. Because you see, extension of pain. Why? Because you are not clinging for the extension of pain. So extension of pain will come naturally. Because the mind at that time, there is no more pain to deal with. She's just observing the body. She's not dealing with the pain. She's not fighting the pain. She's not trying to get rid of the pain. She's just trying to be with her own existence the way it is. And that mind there is total surrender and so calm and so balanced that whatever that you have to deal with, the mind deals with it. There were a couple of quite a few experience like that from different students. It was very inspiring and actually amazing. So as I said just now, a Buddha doesn't think that he is pure or impure. Of course, a Buddha won't be impure because he won't. I mean, he doesn't judge that I'm pure and you are impure, because that is the way a Buddha is pure. So he doesn't need to know that I'm pure, and because I'm pure, you are impure. Okay, so extension. So when we understand that, if we understand this, then we actually naturally come to terms with it. So, okay, this is what it is right now, and this is what it is, and I just be with it. At that time, there is no more finger pointing, no more judgment, no more analysis, nothing. Okay, so and that at that time you naturally extend whatever that is in there at that time, or the extension of ignorance. And when you want to actually, so I want to get rid of my ignorance, then you will never be able to get rid of your ignorance, because you have ignorance to get rid of. But a Avalokiteshvara, he said, with the development of prajna, you really don't look at it from that point of view, because you don't look at it from I need to deal with this ignorance. All you have to do is just be aware of your reactive mind, and you stay put with that and don't follow that. You deal with your ignorance. Yeah. If you actively wanted to get rid of your ignorance, you are ignorant. Because why? Ignorance is fleeting, is changing, is impermanent. All these 12 links are transitory, are conditioned. You have to bear in mind all the time. These 12 links are not permanent. If you ever have a thought thinking these 12 links are permanent, you are ignorant. Very ignorant. Look at any of these links. Is ignorance permanent? No. Right now, I'm ignorant. If I can be aware of what I'm feeling right now, whatever ignorance that I carry from now to the next minute, to the future, whether it's the next moment, because I was aware and not reacting to this ignorance, then the next moment, this ignorance will be different. Whatever ignorance you carry across to the next moment will be different than the ignorance that you had experienced just now, because it's transitory. It depends on your mindset. So always constantly bear in mind, please, these 12 links are not permanent. It's changing all the time. Right? Understand? Yes? So a person with Prajna Paramita will not think that I am pure and you are a mundane person. You are not pure, and because this is a judgmental mind, okay? I remember once I asked my sifu, I think you like to hear my stories from my sifu. I said, Sifu, how can we get rid of the seeds of jealousy? How can I not be jealous? And you know how he answered? How he replied? He said, what is jealousy like? What is jealousy like? I scratched my head. I don't know how to answer him. I don't know how to reply. He said, I don't know anything about jealousy. He doesn't have any seeds of jealousy in him. So he doesn't know what is jealousy like. So amazing. So if we don't have any ignorant seeds in us, so we don't know what is ignorant like, then we are enlightened. So you can be momentary, moment to moment, being enlightened. That's so optimistic. Laurie said, Sifu, you are so encouraging. Truly, really. If you experience some difficulty in life and you don't actually be tempted and be tricked by it, at that time you're not ignorant at all. You're wise. It's okay, let me watch you. I last week when I was in Toronto, it's not from the class. I had great challenge from other people through messaging, and I just looked at it, and I just looked at messages. Messages were really rude and challenging, very judging on me. And I looked at it and said, wow, this person is really suffering right now. Otherwise, how can he write such a message? And why would I get upset with such a suffering person? Immediately I sent him metta, whatever. I said, whatever. It doesn't really, it's not that it doesn't matter. It matters because there is a suffering sentient being out there. It does matter. Yes, Bob.
Isn't any judgment ignorance in itself?
Any judgment is
If anybody's making a judgment of anything, isn't that ignorance itself? Because we don't have pure wisdom or perfect wisdom.
You could say that. You could say that any judgment it could be ignorant. Yes, is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
It could be, but we are still human beings. We are unenlightened.
Yeah.
As long as we don't react to those judgments, we don't act out. You said, for example, I look at the message. Wow, terrible judgment, terrible message on me. I'm not like this. Then I really multiply, strengthen my old habits of reaction. The mental formation is getting stronger and stronger. But if I say, wow, yes, this could be very hurtful if I allow it to hurt me. It could be very hurtful, but I did not allow it to hurt me. Instead, I saw a different side of the picture, even though that is a judgment. This is a suffering person. But I see it also as transitory. Then he must be going through a lot of difficulties. In any way, if I could have help, I would still go and offer. But I would take a step backward, not to actually put myself right there so fast, so soon, like I used to. I took a step back, couple of steps back. until conditions arise, then I think it's proper to actually act, and I will. But I actually started to look at it from that point of view, the cause and effect, and the dependent or originations. Never mind, never mind. Just let it be. So I was not, well, not unhappy. I was a little bit disturbed by the message for about half an hour or so. And then I came out. Of course, constantly going back, came out, constantly going back, came out. But eventually I dealt with it within half a day. And I felt fine. I felt fine. And I constantly went back and checked myself. Are you okay with this? Have you really dealt with it? Are you still, hurting? No. I felt for the person, he must be in deep water in order to write such passage. So, so that's how you actually should really apply into your life, is seeing this dependent origination. Sometimes it's out of your control. You really, a lot of time is out of your control. You cannot control it. But you can change your attitude on how to deal with it. Yeah. Okay. So if ignorance doesn't exist, then there is no extinction of ignorance, right? Why is it necessary to extinguish out all this ignorance if there is ignorance, if there is no ignorance? So in the Majjhima Nikaya, chapter 190, he said, he who sees the paticca samuppada, that means the 12 links of dependent origination, sees the Dharma. That means if you understand these 12 links, you really understand the Dharma, because this is actually what the Buddha said is the most important. Because why? Extinguishing all these is the cessation of sufferings. The cause of your sufferings is this dependent origination, all these 12 links. And in order to extinguish, in order to eradicate all the sufferings, you need to reverse this cycle, right? Remember? So this cycle can go clockwise, where we constantly multiply our sufferings. But if there is no ignorance, then there is no aging and death. If there is no aging and death, there is no birth. And if there is no birth, there is no clinging, no becoming. And if there is no becoming, there will be no clinging. When there is no clinging, there won't be any craving. When there is no craving, then there won't be any sensations. When there is no sensation, there's no contact. When there's no contact, what the 16 stores are useful for, right? If the 6 sense stores, we can break that tie, then there will be no nama-rupa, the form and name. There is no nama-rupa, no consciousness. No consciousness, no sankhara. No sankhara, no ignorance. Yeah? You see, the reverse cycle is the liberation. That's why he says, he who sees the paticca samuppada sees the Dhamma. And he who sees the Dhamma sees the paticca samuppada. So Peter Harvey, one of the very renowned scholar, he used to be a professor at Sunderland University in England, in Buddha studies. And he wrote in his book, he says, nothing permanent. That's what actually Paticca Samuppada teaches us. He said it actually highlights the Buddha's notion that all apparent substantial entities are impermanent. Yeah. And it says nothing has its own self, substantial self. So it's anatta, this own self. And he says, no independent subjects or objects. None of the subjects or objects are independent. They are all co-dependent or interdependent, right? That's why the paticca samuppada means, another name for it is dependent origination, right? So it originates depending on conditions, on others. And others also originate depending on others. So it's codependency. Like us, we are codependent on each other. Okay, so that's what Peter Harvey said. So he said there is this fundamental emptiness is actually in all phenomena and in all experiences, because there is this codependency between all phenomena and all existence. We cannot exist on our own. We cannot. Nothing can. No phenomena can, because all phenomena are conditioned. Right? So now we look at this. Oh, sorry. So we should all be aware that the concept of extinction of ignorance actually comes from a concept that there is ignorance. Okay, so there is a relationship between these two. They are codependent. So therefore, neither of them is really the truth, right? So if ignorance doesn't exist, where is the extinction of ignorance? And also, when we talk about worldly or unworldly, or mundane or supramundane, we always think, okay, this is supramundane, clear, clean and clear. This is unworldly. For us, being unenlightened, we think that there is a supramundane world. Don't we? We think that there's something to be enlightened, to be attained. So it's just like a clear water, which is so clear, it can reflect so beautifully everything around it, even the rising sun. And we always identify this worldly world to be unclean, right? Murky. It's just like this, murky and filthy. It's really not too filthy, but it's so much garbage into it, so many leaves, full of impurities. So we think that the unworldly existence is so supreme, so clear, so clean, so pure. When we are able to transform ourselves from this impure existence to a pure existence and becomes a saint and sages, we become completely enlightened. When we are ignorant, we become murky and filthy. So, but when the clear water becomes so clear, the clear water takes it so naturally. And it won't say, murky water, don't come into my place because I'm so clear. But we do. We, like us, we do. We say, I am a practitioner and you are not a practitioner. I am walking on the path and you are not walking on the path. I am a meditator and you are not a meditator. We always start to actually have this duality. When we have this duality, we are caught by this duality. So the whole thing of Avalokiteshvara's teaching Prajna Paramita is asking us not to constantly judge and constantly being trapped by this duality. Okay, so being an unworldly being, like enlightened being, the enlightened beings will not judge the unenlightened beings, but they have the compassion for the unenlightened beings. Okay, so in our daily life, if we stay with other people in the family or in a nunnery, if we cannot start to look at ourselves and understand ourselves and trying to transform ourselves. And why? Because we don't look at ourselves, we won't understand ourselves. If we don't understand ourselves, we don't know our shortcomings and how we can actually change ourselves. If we constantly in this mode of, oh, I'm better than them, I work harder, and I'm cleaner, and I'm smarter, then you will never be able to actually correct yourself and also never be able to have the compassion for others. So then we start, because why? At that time, you're really ignorant about your own self because you don't understand yourself. Then you are ignorant. Then if there is ignorance, then you fall into that cycle again, over and over again. So can you imagine during one day, in a day, how many cycles we go through? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to discourage you.
At least every 5 minutes.
Oh, good. At least every 5 minutes.
Used to be every minute.
Used to be a minute, right? Yeah. See, that's the way to look at it, right? So if we can start to use the Dharma to really understand this and also understand our relationships with others, our relationships with the environment, our relationships with everything. And most important is how our mind, how we can actually change our mind, how we can actually change this. And the little that we change, that transformation allows you to become an unworldly being at that moment. Okay, and an unworldly being is a very humble person, is a very optimistic person, is a very compassionate person, and is a very wise person. And no matter, you can have a whole list of wonderful qualities, endless list of of an unworldly person, qualities of an unworldly person. Therefore, if we look at these 12 links, we do understand it is for us to understand our mind, our own mind and our own body, and how they work in relationship with each other, how we can actually start to understand our situation, and how we can actually come out from our own clinging, our own craving, and our own becoming. And the most important thing is, because when we start to understand that, we will start to change our mental formations. We won't follow those mental formations, the old mental formations. That means the reactive mind, the old habits pattern. And we start to what? We start to build up a new habit where there is no ignorance. Okay, so only when we start to build up this new habit, then we will be able to really change ourselves, to transform ourselves. You don't really need to actually, I need to change myself. You naturally would change. You naturally change. And the Buddha said to us, when you actually realize this cycle of endless transient events, these 12 links, there is really no substantial self which is permanent, right? Because all these links are transitory. Okay, so the stream of birth and death is flowing like this, but the stream of enlightenment, realization, is flowing this anti-clockwise, remember. But if we allow it to go clockwise in these 12 links, we allow us to go into these cycles of samsara, constant cycles of samsara. So the worldly and worldly world are no different. No different. We have to be in this worldly world in order to understand, and because we are existing here, and we can actually be liberated from here also. Divas beavers cannot do this because they don't have a human body. They only have this mind, but they don't have this human body to work on. So they are up there in the heavenly existence. Yes, they're constantly having fun, enjoying the desires. But when those good seeds are exhausted, then they will have to either come back or go into the lower realms, because they don't know that they can actually practice to completely liberate themselves. Okay, so Avalokiteshvara haven't told Shariputra that in the light of cultivation of Prajna Paramita, the links of these chains actually do not exist. And Avalokiteshvara also tells him, in the same light of this non-existence really does not exist. Therefore, there will be no end to causation. And there is no causation because there is no causation in the first place. Time's up. This guy is really prompt on time, calling it a clock. It doesn't matter. Never mind.
I tried to turn it off.
No, it doesn't
I
matter.
didn't think anybody was gonna call me.
It's great. Sister Jessie, finish it off. I'm all confused by your Heart Sutra anyway.
I accidentally covered this.
No, don't worry, Bob. Don't worry. I'm done. I'm done. I'm really done. Huh? Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's too much. But remember, this 12, the most important thing you have to remember about these 12 links is every link is transitory. Every link is codependent on each link, on the link before it, on the link after it. They're all related. And none of this can exist without each other. But once we actually severed from any of these 4 contact points, the one before it, the one after it will not exist anymore, will not come into play anymore, right? So remember this. That's all you need to remember. If there is no first causation, there is no first cause, there won't be a consequence, right? So this is actually the law of causation also. Seed, fruits, seed, fruits, seed, fruits. The fruits become seeds. If there are no more seeds, there won't be any fruits, right? Because the fruits becomes the future seeds. So this is actually also a fruit, a seeds, fruits, seeds, fruits, seeds, fruits. It's the law of causation. Playing tricks. Okay. Okay. Upcoming event is June 24th is the pool for sight. And July 30th and August 5th is the auspicious chanting at Van Dusen Garden. Okay, everybody is welcome to join us. Okay, I have confused you enough. As Nora said, the brains are fried. We better stop frying them. Otherwise, they crumble. All right. Let us come back to this body. Knowing the experience is constantly different. And we allow a good thought to arise on our mind. For whatever benefits that I gathered tonight, may I share with all beings. All beings, human, non-human, visible, invisible, big or small, far or near. May they be free of enmity. May they be free of mysteries. May they start to live in a world with brightness, on things, experience compassionate love, and be truly happy and peaceful. May we wish more and more people will encounter the words of the Buddha, study them, practice them, and liberate themselves from all the entanglements and be free and be happy.